Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We're going to be looking at usability studies, very important part of the design process to get feedback from the users and then use this feedback to iteratively look at your design and then go ahead and finalize the design. Okay, so more on this. A profound quote by Mahatma Gandhi: "The future depends on what we do in the present." I repeat it, the future depends on what we do in the present. Usability studies, iteration and finalizing the design. Let's look at usability studies. So if you look at usability studies, is the fifth phase of the design thinking and innovation process. After research, then analysis, then ideation, building, and it's actually the phase 5 where we test, and get feedback and then iteratively try to change the design and finally implement it. So usability studies and testing helps you to identify issues or problems and get feedback on this. So if you look at it, research is where you started, looking at several places. Analysis, you kind of came down to a few things which were very, very crucial to the design process itself. Ideation, you looked at many ideas and then you took forward one of them, and then through testing you get the feedback and iteratively change it and then finally implement that part of it. So what is usability studies? So it's a method for getting a useful feedback on the usefulness of your design. Okay, so you can do it at any stage of the design process to test your concept, or any stage, soft, medium or hard prototype levels, or the final design itself. So if you look at it, you can test it for efficiency, human factors, experiences, whether you're able to interact with that, ease of use, comfort, intuitive to use, or affordances. Also you can look at aesthetics, whether it's easy to learn, whether it uses sustainable materials, and the comfort levels itself. Okay, so any of these factors could be studied using usability studies. It could also, for the design of any of them, whether it's products, services, interfaces, communication media or environments, you can use usability studies to get feedback on your design. Now, how do we do this studies? Okay, so we are actually proposing, there are many methods, but we are proposing 3 methods. I think these are very simple and easy methods to do, and it gives you great feedback. First is observation along with conversation. It can be done before using the product or the service, or while using it, or after using it also. Okay, so at all these stages you can actually do observation, conversation. There's also a very interesting thing called as the think aloud prototype. Okay, while using the product or the process or the service, that you actually speak aloud what you are going through, what comes up in your mind. Okay, and followed by user testing while using the product or the service. Okay, so the feedback that one can get can be both qualitative or quantitative. Okay, qualitative means you can measure the level of comfort, feelings, ease of use, experiences and aesthetics. Okay, you can use a Richter level scale to use it, or it could be quantitative. It's the how efficient it is, how many errors did you make, okay, numbers, time taken, efforts taken, or whether they are able to recollect it or not. Okay, so it can either be qualitative or quantitative. So observation conversations, great for using, before using, while using, and even after using. Think aloud prototype, great while using the services. User feedback while using it and after using it. Okay, so let's look at the variables in user studies. Okay, so these are the different variables in user studies. Okay, so observation, for example, can be done by the user looking at how the user is actually using your product or service, or it could be the observation by the user while he is using the product. It could be offline or online, okay, observations. Observations can be in natural settings, which is the ideal thing to do, or sometimes you might have to actually do it in a laboratory or a workshop setup. Okay, observation in person or observation very unobtrusively, so that the person doesn't know that you are actually observing the user in action. Okay, so these are different variables that you have while doing the usability studies. Why do usability studies? Very simple reason. It helps you to identify issues or problems with the design solution at any stage of the design process. This feedback helps you in turn to, iteratively rectify the problem and in turn, redesigning it. Okay, so that you go ahead with your design. And if you look at it in an overall context, it saves time and efforts. Okay, and it's a very simple way to do this. So what does user studies involve? So there are some methods that we use. Okay, so observations, conversations, talk it out prototype, and usability testing. So we'll look at each of these methods in much more detail at the tool section. So let's look at further studies and references. We have the DSOS content in the beginning, followed by Elements of User Experience by Jesse James Jarrett and Measuring the User Experience by Tom Tullis and Bill Albert. Observing the User Experiences by Mike Kulnowski